Welcome to Bear Down, part of the Coach Steve Show, where Zach joins. We talk everything Chicago Bears, and for once, we are happy.
Yes-ish,
but happy. We are
happy overall. I'm happy. I'm pleased. I'm very pleased.
Yeah, it's about time. The Bears get a win, 24-18. Is this the score you had? I think you were pretty damn close.
I was off by 1 point with the different outcome.
Yeah, I think I said 24-17 Rams or something, so I was just flip-flopped, but pretty close.
Yes, in that case, actually, no, I did. Yeah, I had 24-17. I think we both had similar score.
Oh, I know what I flipped the Colts, so I said 21-16. So you were close.
Yes, because I know I said 24.
You said 24. I said 21-16 Rams. So you win. You won the week.
Yes, but not. I didn't get the right opponent, but that's okay. I'll take it. A win's a win, and I'll tell you, I liked a lot of what I saw, and the trajectory is upward trajectory.
It is.
And guess what? We made it to the 2-2 mark where you and I said, if we can get out of this 2-2,
yes,
we're doing okay. So we got out of this 2-2. We're doing okay. The middle soft part of the section's coming up with these teams, although Washington's looking pretty good now. So
God, yes. Yeah.
Might have to keep an eye on them. But hey, Panthers next week. So
but they're looking tough too. So it's just all sorts of it's a trap game, which we'll get to later on in the week. But yes, the Bears get a win over the Rams. And I totally agree. Last week there was a comment saying, good thing this game is at the Bears and not the Rams. And I think if it was at the Rams, it might have been a different outcome. But we finally started to see the offense helping the defense out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And people were kind of trying to find flaws, saying, well, look, Caleb Williams didn't throw for as many yards as last time. And I said, that's probably not the formula to win, right? So I am perfectly fine with 100 and some passing yards, and I'm perfectly fine with the Bears team total 100 and some yards rushing. That's the big key here.
That's huge day on the ground game. And I'm going to tell you, when we go to film, just me watching the standard game film, Steve, I bet if Shane Waldron was listening to this podcast this week, if it wasn't for his players, he listened to us complain and say, you know what? These big boys got to go up to the second level. Got to start blocking people, getting off and shed those double teams, getting to personnel in the linebacking core. Because there's a lot of good runs like that where it was downhill, middle of and between the tackles running. That wasn't the first 3 weeks, and it made me happy because you know why? That's what that line's good at, Steve. They're good between the tackles. They're good at moving boys out of the way. They did exactly that against the Rams, against a weak, very opportunistic team to do it against in the Rams to kick things off again. They did exactly what they needed to. And I told you last week as well, attack the part that's weakest. They did that when they were on offense, especially second half. There's a lot to say about the first half, though, because Shane was getting booed first quarter when that ended, and it was not looking good to start.
Yeah, the first quarter, it was like, oh, here we go again. Like, same old thing, key screens, this, and that. I was like, oh, he really wasn't paying attention.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second quarter we start to see glimpses of it. And then the third quarter, he said, F it, I have to start doing this. But outside the play calling, I think DeAndre Swift heard everybody complaining about his run. And he finally started to put his foot downhill. He started to try to run people over, and he had enough. And only 16 carries. I thought he had way more than that. But 16 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown in that huge-ass run he had at the end to get the touchdown. I was like, oh, okay. And I thought Roschon Johnson had a lot more carries, only 7. But they used him in the right opportune times. Like, oh, we need this first down, or we need this, and we have to – that touchdown where, like, we have to get someone that's downhill and bully, put him in.
Yeah.
And every time he was in, he averaged 3.7 yards a carry, which is – I think we were averaging like 1 yard a carry at one point.
Yeah,
and so –
Swift 5.5 a carry. And it was 36-yard run alone. But even you take that away, I mean, dude was still still averaging like near 4 yards a clip.
But they also used him in the pass game. He had 7 catches for 72 yards, so 93 on the ground, 72 through the air, which we said last time. Like, we know he can go be out used in the pass. And that's kind of why they signed him, was he was supposed to be able to do both.
I mean, you watch him play, he looks like a slot receiver. He plays like a slot receiver. Yes. And I kind of, if it wasn't for his great running performance, if he had another dud this week, I would just go on the show and be like, look, just make Swift like a slot receiver or something, like a gadgety player. Don't force him into a running role, even though I know he's been successful running back in the past. He just isn't working with this right now. But I think he shut everybody up and was like, hey, this is what I came here for. We just need to get the right plays and the right personnel doing things correctly. And there are glimpses of what's moving upward and helping build this. Plus, I think one thing that helps Swift's numbers, and we'll talk about this, I think, as we go on with the rest of the show, Caleb Williams learned, hey, the dump off, you know what? Dump off ain't too bad on several occasions on Sunday. Several.
Oh, yeah. And I was getting ready to say that. People were kind of complaining about his yards. He threw 157, but he was 17 of 23. Very accurate.
Say 73% completion percentage, around 74. Best QBR he's had in his career so far, and it's gone up every week as well. So it's been more intelligent football every week.
And that second half, he started to make some NFL throws. He had a tight window throws like Cole Kmet and others. And
that DJ Moore touchdown, Steve. Oh, my God. Oh,
that was
nasty.
Beautiful. That was
nasty.
Where you at, Justin Fields? You didn't do that. Oh, sorry.
Well, true. Although it was like, I will say, side kudos. Even though Fields lost this week, 312 yards through the air and another 50 on the ground. I mean,
yeah, but then Justin Fields is going to Justin Fields, try to run and make something out of nothing.
He did lose a fumble. He did lose a fumble, though.
And he's been doing that all season. People don't talk about it. He actually has fumbled it a couple times or fumbled it and got it back. So Justin Fields is going to Justin Fields. But anyway, we're about Caleb Williams and the Bears.
Focus on the now. Focus on the QB that through 4 weeks, again, better every week. He's been learning from his mistakes very fast. Right. And I'll admit that's what's impressed me so far.
Well, someone put up a video that touchdown to DJ Moore and the pocket was collapsing on him because he actually stayed in the pocket. It was actually a good 3 to 4 seconds, I think. And they said, someone boasted, our former quarterback would have ran and not have seen that. And I kind of agree, Bob, but this is what you want to see. You want to see progression. We always want to say, I know he threw for 300 and some yards last week. So everybody's like, oh, he's got to throw for 300 and some yards to win the game. No, he just has to manage it right now because he's a rookie. As he progresses, second year, third year, fourth year, then he can start to be I'm going to throw for 250 every game. But right now, if he can just say, hey, I had a great, QBR, I had a great completion percentage. I didn't turn the ball over. I didn't throw any interceptions. And we had longer sustaining drives than we did before. That's what it's going to take to win.
Yeah. And again, reminder, you got a good run game. You just got to use it. You don't have to lean on it on the QB. You just need to utilize it better. Now, again, one of the worst run defenses in the league. So good they finally leaned into that, but still.
Right. But another thing is it's confidence, though. So I know it was not a great rush defense, but this is what you're supposed to do. And they finally did in the second half. But maybe, just maybe, it's telling the O-line, hey, you can block these people. You can get to the linebackers. Swift, you can run downhill. Caleb Williams, you can throw more than just an out route every single time. And guess what? The running back is open a lot. So get it to him. So I know to some people, they've already said it. Well, this is one of the worst rush defenses. So why are we overreacting? We're not. We're just finally glad to see it work. And maybe they can take this and run with it and say, you know what? We do have a 1-2 punch running backs. Hey, we do have a quarterback that, given the time, is going to be able to do it. Hey, when the O-line was run blocking better, they started to feel better pass protecting.
If this is how they move forward, and again, we haven't pulled the tape up yet. I actually am going to watch the all 22 before next one. Now that I got NFL Plus, and I can kind of watch it before jumping in instead of reacting on the fly. My thing I'm going to be looking for is, again, and what I thought I saw on the broadcast, did they change how the scheme is run? Again, is it more about shooting off the ball and less about looking for the zone and kind of playing that RPO, which I felt they did more of this game. And, did they find their best running back duo, which we didn't see any. Clear Herbert did not touch the ball in the carries this week. And double checking myself here, was not in any passing downs. Now I know he's on some plays probably for packages, but he was not involved anywhere. And I'll be frank, if this is the DeAndre Swift we get moving forward, where, okay, we all now have an understanding this is what works best with him,
right?
And then you have Roshan Johnson, who's, again, just this big bullying back, short yardage, great bowling ball guy, can catch passes if you need as a safety valve, but he's a good second thunder to the lightning. This is who you should stick with as your running back personnel, Now, and again, this is weird saying last week with Swift being like, hey, did we invest 24 million correctly? No, I think now we're seeing where it's like, hey, this guy can be utilized right, but now the right packages are being used correctly.
God's play.
God's play. Oh boy.
My boy Doug Kramer.
That was a nice that was great to hear that on the broadcast, that Doug getting a snap, but being the fullback.
Yeah, I remember them getting an I formation at the goal line there, and I was getting ready to tweet I formation at the goal line, and then they snapped the ball, and I saw him go to block. I was like, wait a minute, is that Doug Kramer? Because you couldn't tell from the side. I was like, is that Doug Kramer? And they said that, and I was like, oh, Doug Kramer, my Illinois guy, finally gets into the game, and he had a good block. He blocked like a lineman. He's like, I'm going to get at your thigh and just run. That's all I know how to do.
Dude, he barreled over people. And look, that's an example right there we've talked about where, hey, Shane Waldron, look, listen to your personnel. You got the right guys for a goal line situation. You don't have to run outside. You don't have to get creative and try and make something happen out of overthinking it. You have a big 6 foot plus running back, 200 plus. I don't know what the poundage is on him, but dude that can just plow somebody over. A diet-ish Derrick Henry of sorts. A Derrick Henry archetype.
6 foot, 225 pounds.
A guy where you just say, hey, just run ahead, fall forward for a few yards, get what we need you to get. So that's what he did at the goal line. That's something he hasn't been doing in 3 weeks. He got too cute a lot of times, a lot of pistol, a lot of shotgun. Hey, no, I formation's perfect. Caleb can go under center. We've seen it. That's what we wanted to see. There's adaption. There is change. There is reacting to what is not working. Something that, I'll be frank, with Luke Getsy and Matt Nagy, we would have seen the same damn stuff in week 4 as we would have in week 13. And I like that there was someone that said, you know what, this didn't work. And my team did talk to me. And I did actually look at what is the problem with the Rams and say, hey, I'm just going to attack this. Mm-hmm. And hey, what do you know? A week front 7 of the Rams defense can't block or can't get the run blocking down. Hey, take a few sacks, but you take the yards difference. I'm fine by me.
Right.
That's what I want to see. I'm okay with that.
I'd have to wait till the film. I think Caleb Williams is under center more this game than he was in the previous couple games. So I think that was another adjustment. Like I'm not an under center guy in high school, but I think in the NFL, it works a lot better because it's the NFL. Because you're playing the best of the best, right? So you have to go under center and be able to get the running back at full speed downhill, because as we all know in high school, you could probably get away with blocking for 2 seconds and the running back could do that.
Oh yeah.
In the NFL, if you try to block for 1 second or 2 seconds, that running back's getting killed because you're going up against the best of the best. So going under center sometimes helps. Play action helps. And Caleb started to see the field a little bit, started to be confident what his throws were. But I also think it's because he felt confident because he was like, oh, my running backs are doing what they're supposed to do. And my linemen, we have this going on. That's less pressure on me. Mm-hmm. And you're starting to see him check things at the line too. Like slow, if you're watching, he's canning the play to the second one because he's reading it. He's doing this. And just week by week is slowly starting to figure it out. And I was worried because you saw Caleb Williams getting very upset the last game. I think there was that video saying, what are you calling? Like, what are we doing? And there was a lot of things going on there. There was also a video of Caleb Williams before the second half. He went up to DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, and they weren't yelling at each other. They showed the video of him like trying to figure out how he can get them the ball. It wasn't, what are you guys doing? It's, how can I get you the ball? So a rookie going up to the veterans like that, and showing some type of leadership is what you want to see. And that, like I said, the whole time, my big question mark was leadership. How is he going to handle this? Last week when I saw him getting upset, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Like it's going to come out.
He seems more vocal with players than Fields or Trubisky before him. Where I remember Trubisky, it was more about, he's like, I remember listening about Trubisky where he's confident, but he didn't feel like he had the sense where he was like the leader in the locker room.
Mhm.
And then even Fields, like through 3 years, it never felt like he truly grabbed the guys and like brought them in. Everything you've heard about Caleb and everything you've seen with Caleb so far, he is constantly trying to talk to these guys and see what they can do better.
Yep.
And it's kind of refreshing to see a quarterback that's that involved, like in-game basis, where it's like, hey, look, yeah, things are going rough, but we need to like keep talking and keep trying to figure things out. Because one of the greatest traits of quarterbacks and coaching, I think, you can prep all the hell you want, but great player, not even coaching or quarterbacks, great players adapt and read the situations on field and relay information to coaches. And you can't get better on that regard unless you are actively talking. Like, hey, what are you seeing out there? What can we change on the fly that might work? We saw it second half. Chicago again, 2 weeks in a row has been a second half team where it's like, hey, we're finding things that are working, that maybe we started slow, but at least we're hitting our stride at the right time. Now can you get 4 quarters is the next step, but every week it's been getting better, which is great.
Right. It's just always like, second half, it's always that slow start, right? Like it always, as soon as the game start, we're like, oh, they've learned nothing, right? Like they're doing exactly what they were just doing last week. Like you said, it could have gone the other way. It could have been Luke Getsy and Matt Nagy all over again, where that second half,
it could have.
No change. Like, hey, we're just going to keep trying this, and maybe it will work. And thank God they didn't. And maybe that's because you actually have a guy that's called plays before, and maybe he finally understands, like, hey, maybe this is what I want to do, but we just can't, right? Like maybe that's because I'd be perfectly fine if what they did in the second half and we still lost the game somehow, but they were trying all that stuff, I would be okay. I'd be like, hey, there's a little bit of change going on, and we're okay with it. The penalties, though, I think the Bears had 10 penalties for 84 yards, so there's still those things to clean up.
Not pretty. That was a very ugly part of the day, actually.
The defense kept doing their thing. I know we haven't talked about the defense a lot. To some people, 18 points is a lot, but I think if you give up 18 points, you're putting your team in a good position to win. Matthew Stafford still had a Matthew Stafford type of game, 224 yards, but he had no touchdown passes, and they got to him 3 times. So that's exactly, But even there was I think it was, I can't remember who said it. They were like, we're not happy with our performance on defense. It was one of the players. I can't remember if it was Brisker or not. He's like, we were not happy with our performance on defense, which tells you the level that they want to be at, which I get it from a competitive standpoint. As a player, you probably felt like you left some plays out there like, oh my gosh, how'd they get this ball? Oh my gosh, Kyron Williams had 94 yards rushing. We can't allow that to happen. Like, we need to keep him. Rivers had 26 yards. They gave him 119 yards, so I get it. As a fan, you're giving up all those yards, but you're only giving up 10 to 18 points. That's a good day. The old NFL in 2006, in 2006, you'd be pissed about giving up 18 points. Now, you're doing pretty good. And then to force a fumble and to get that interception at the end of the game to win the game. So, like, the defense, you won the game. You got the interception at the end. You blasted. That was close to being a penalty, by the way, going up towards his head.
I was very surprised they didn't throw the flag there, to be honest with you.
I was in shock.
That one shocked me.
Well, because they were like, he led with his head, and I have to watch them. I don't know if he necessarily led with his head, but his arm did come across, but it went right underneath his head. So I just don't know if it was such a bang bang that he didn't want to throw it. I have no idea, but I think we said that. Like, if you can force Matthew Stafford to get hit a couple of times, they force a couple of turnovers, and Caleb Williams passes, and we get the run game going, they can win. And guess what? I'm okay winning 24-18. It doesn't have to be 35-18. I am perfectly okay with this. Like, I felt. Granted, I was watching the game in a hospital, so I couldn't sit there. I had to keep my containment inside. I'm sitting there like, I can't scream, I can't yell, I can't do nothing. But I'm like, oh my God, are they actually going to win? I'm watching the second half. I was like, is this real? like they're running the football. There's a fullback. Doug Kramer's a fullback. They usually get on that 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1 and put him back out there and was like, "Hey, you get us the first down, man. You got to block." And they did like. Now the big question is, can they continue that? That'd be the next step.
Well,
Please don't go back to what you were doing.
No, I think if we are seeing what we're seeing so far, and I think this is what's encouraging. 4 weeks, 4 better performances week over week. And that I think that includes specifically offense as well. I think the second half of the Colts game, we saw that there was a little bit of a spark, and I think learning what works a little bit with their passing attack. The thing that I still want to see better, I don't know what it is, the deep ball timing right now for passes is just not there. I don't know if it's that Caleb's just overthrowing these guys purely by arm strength, or that something with DJ Moore or Keenan Allen or Cole Kmet and these deep routes is not working out. But clearly that part of the offense is non-existent right now, except for like a few outside examples, and that's got to be worked on. Otherwise, I think what I hope Shane Waldron took away from this game, that if he's been showing, if he's a smart man and he listened to his players last week and it shows results this week, is look, you can run the screens, you can run outside zone runs if you want, you can do these things. You just can't do it all the time, and again, we saw screen work great. One of the best plays from this game was a bailout screen to DeAndre Swift from Caleb Williams that did an excellent job helping the Bears can keep ahead of the Rams in the second half. Like, that's great. I'm okay with screens, but they have to make sense and you have to time them up. You can't consistently every other drive throw a screen. You can't consistently every other drive run 1 to 2 outside zone plays, because it's not, defenses are going to catch on. They're too smart in the NFL for that.
Well, I'm curious after the film. I'm just curious on the film, what set that screen up? Was it because they were running the ball so effectively too? Right? Like,
well, exactly.
I'm curious. Oh, keep going. You're on a roll. Keep going.
I'm just saying, like, you see if you got a defense that doesn't, there's no certainty. If a defense doesn't know where they're going, if they're playing an offense where they're like, there's no predictability to it or whatsoever, that's your worst nightmare. Not having a place to go and being like, oh, well, we're not sure what's going to come next. This coordinator is great at calling these outside plays. He can call inside. He's got under center. He's got shotgun. Variety. Like, defenses are at their worst when you have them off their game and players can't understand what they're seeing and don't know the game plan. The last 2.5 games, the game plan was so simple as saying, well, the Bears are just going to run outside and they're just going to throw screens. Maybe they'll try a downfield passing, but if we stop the downfield passing, we got them, guys. Now it's like, oh crap, they're going back to what I believe was more power run and getting these guys firing off the ball. Oh crap, they're trying to do between the tackles runs. Oh crap, they're trying to do screens less often, so it's more of an caught off guard, like, pardon my French, oh shit moment to the linebackers or even the folks that they let go on the blocks on the front four. It's big. Again, diversity. Like, some of the best coordinators are great at finding times to change up the schemes and keep defenses off their toes. Shane, I hope if he's smart, he took a lesson from this game. And that's the exact thing I want to see. Just, these guys got to stop having some penalties. That's putting them behind the 8 ball too damn much, like you talk about. That's won't do much for me. But yeah, I mean, between that, another great game where top 10 scoring defense the Bears have right now. And Torrey Taylor, you are a superstar, my friend. Good God. If there is any pick from this draft that has shown the most, Ryan Poles nailed it with the Aussie punter, because that man is already one of the best punters in the NFL after this game.
Oh, he took so much shit for picking a punter. Not after that game.
Without the field flips, though, that has a higher chance of us not walking away from this. I mean, we're talking change of one's 20 to another's 15 on several of these punts. Not having to start from the 35 or 40, massive that you can kick 60-yarders with ease. Crazy.
Yeah, and that's how he won the game, because now they're backed up all the way. pressure on them, and he throws an interception. I know he got hit, whatever. The hit, I don't care. He still threw it that way. Even if we didn't hit him, it was going to be an interception. He was just trying to get rid of it, and it would never have happened without the punter. And that's why special teams is so important. Field position is so important. For example, my line I lost, but if you watch the game for Penn State in the first half, they were discussing it like it was 4th and 1, and Penn State probably should have went for it. They were like, no, you got to flip the field. You got to get them pinned all the way back. Illinois got to the middle of the field, same thing. They could have maybe went for it, and they didn't. It was field position. They're like, we want to force them to get time off the clock, and the field position is so important to a head coach, and that's what they have to think about. And so if you don't have the punter, but by God, what was it, a 60-yard punt or something, 64 yards? It was
you had 2 50-yarders and 1 61-yarder.
Good God Almighty.
I mean, yeah.
So like from now on, if we punt, I'm okay with it because that guy is amazing.
No, it works. I mean, I'll talk about just that dynamic there that helps a ton. So you have a guy that flips the field and a rookie punter in Tory Taylor. But then, defense comes out, has another clutch week. Some impressive outings from players that either I had been honestly, it's funny. All the guys that you and I talked about, like saying balls in your court to show up, showed up this week. Like Montez Sweat getting a strip sack fumble, and we asked last week, hey, Montez, where you at, buddy? And comes out there, yes, mismatch, but still takes advantage of the mismatch, gets a strip sack fumble deep in Rams territory, was a crucial play in this game. Garvin Dexter had a hell of a day. He's looking like his year 2 glow up is currently up and going. And I'll tell you what, even Jaquan Brisker, who honestly up until this week, even still kind of this week, it's kind of gotten, I've noticed part of the fan base where it's like he talks too much. Well, he finally showed up and balled out like to his fullest, because I'll be frank, his track record up until this past week had been lots more talk, a lot less performance. And I think he really needed a performance like that to kind of silence a few people. He silenced me a little bit because I was getting to that point too. Great performance from him as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. They hit Matthew Stafford 6 times, which is a lot. They got, and I think Montez Sweat, I'd have to watch the film again, but from trying to replay the game in my head, even though he didn't he had the big sack, but a lot of attention was pointed to him. And I want to look and see how many times he put pressure on Stafford because he was everywhere. I thought he was everywhere. Jaquan Brisker had 8 solo tackles by himself. And like, he's all over the place. 2 tackles for loss. Like, he was all over the place. And that's why it was funny. Like, they said they wish they would have played better. I'm like, really? Like, I thought you played pretty damn well. I know that you want to take some of the points off, but
I think the only thing I will knock him for, and I'll tell you this, it showed up from the stat sheet because to be fair, and we've known this for a minute, except the last 2 weeks they've done well, actually, no, I take that back. They haven't. Their run defense is really the main suspect issue I have with this defense. That it's been stemming back since Eberflus kind of started off as head coach for the Bears. 3 of their last 4 weeks, they've given up to rushers of 80 plus yards total for one rusher alone. I believe it's now 3 of the 4 games this year, they've given up 100 plus yards rushing on the ground combined to teams. And 2 straight games now we've seen that with Jonathan Taylor. And then this week, if it wasn't for the fact that I think with Tory Taylor kind of keeping the Rams deep in territory, allowing the Bears to kind of play this like bend but don't break defense. I mean, Kyren Williams, 19 and 94, had a hell of a game himself. Same for even their backup running back as well with Rivers. I mean, both these guys are averaging easy 4 yards a clip on Chicago's defense. Taylor last week dominated against Chicago. That was like the main thing that succeeded. That's something I got to keep an eye on. Again, it's been an Eberflus era problem. They just haven't been a great rush defense as much. But if they can find ways to slow that down and get pressure, they've been able to do okay in pass coverage. That's what I've noticed a lot in recent years.
Well, because one of our question marks was the interior defensive line and your interior linebackers, right? That's kind of the question. We have defensive ends, but if they want to run up the middle, can your interior D line hold the O line to where they're not getting moved? Can your linebackers run downfield and make a tackle? Which again, I love how Brisker is always like our leading tackler, but when your safety and stuff is your leading tackler, eventually that catches up with you. But are they okay with maybe giving up those yards, saying, "Hey, you can get your big pop yards, you can do this, but we're not going to give up the points." Like we're able to get a turnover somewhere, so maybe that's why they're okay with it. But as you progress, it is something that you hope starts to get better. But like the longest run they had was 14 yards. I mean, so they're getting nickel and dime, but again, it's bend don't break. Like, hey, you're not going to get a 36-yard run like DeAndre Swift. If you're only going to get a 14-yard run, like that's your longest, okay, whatever. Because now you're going to get 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. Maybe you're averaging
Oh,
4 yards.
sure.
That's okay. That's okay because eventually you're going to pass it, and our guys are so good that they're going to rally to the football. They're going to be physical and do all that stuff. But again, yeah, just curious to see how that interior D line and the interior linebackers hold up as they get into the grind of their season, which is coming up pretty soon. You know, when Minnesota's looking really good, can you do it against them? Green Bay is freaking Green Bay. The
It
Lions, they
is,
just want
yeah.
to run down your throat, and like, are you able to do it? And
Yeah, and while we're talking right now, Lions up 14-0 on Seattle.
good,
So go figure. Although that was a good game last year, by the way, so could change on a dime. But I digress. Like the NFC North, pretty freaking competitive. Chicago now after this game, and credit again, opportunistic was a good lineup for trying to get the rush defense back up. But if the Bears are playing what I've known as Bears football all my life, which has been no break defense and getting a nice balance offensively, that wins football games. Now, we'll see how that plays out against Detroit and against Minnesota, which I mean, Chicago's played close with in the recent years, just hasn't always been able to finish the deal. Hell, they split with Detroit last year and also split with Minnesota last year. So, go
mm-hmm.
figure. But to be determined. That's going to be the key. If you see what we saw against LA like this, I won't mind. Caleb, you expect to progress every week now. I think it seems like he's gone up and up and up a bit by bit by bit. Hopefully we can get some more yardage, get a bit better connection in the deeper second level with passing, and then keep this run game system that we should have started from week 1 with, and then see
Yeah,
where we go from there.
I'm very curious if the deep ball isn't there because I think sometimes he doesn't step into it. I think sometimes it's off his back foot,
Mm-hmm.
which just shows you how strong his arm really is if he can overthrow guys with just
Well,
his
I don't know if you saw
arm.
this in pregame. He practices these like weird angle throws, like to the sideline. His classic, like he like looks like he should just not have it, but he likes this quick flick. He practices those. I've noticed that in like pregame warmups.
Well, that's the new Patrick Mahomes thing. They're going to practice
Okay,
it.
but
You
I
saw in the
mean,
game he did a little side thing to Swift, like he was like, "Oh, here you go." And I
yeah,
don't mind those because you're just trying to make a play. You're trying to be an athlete. I get it, but what are you what you gonna do when they take away the run and the out routes? Like what you gonna
well,
do? You're gonna have to hit one of the deep routes, consistently. Like we had last week, we saw it a couple times with Odunze and stuff. Which Odunze was very quiet yesterday. Did he even play?
I
Like
mean,
I don't even know.
he was there, but I mean, yeah. I'm gonna
He had
check
one
it. Like,
catch.
yeah,
He had one catch.
10 yards. I mean, the fact that like here's one thing. I'm like DJ Moore. I'll be honest, like DJ Moore's in credits part of the offense, but quiet, so quiet. Maybe I'm just going to manifest that he has a good week next week if I just say he's been quiet. So we're just going to do DJ Moore's been surprisingly a little quiet. Keenan Allen getting back into the swing of things. I'm not going to say anything there. Cole Kmet's been leaned on more lately, and that's good. Young quarterbacks, you always hear it's not you have a good tight end to lean on. That's a big asset. Hey, lean on him. Cole Kmet's a great pass catcher now, has developed into that over recent years. And lean on a guy like that. And like we saw finally this week, to reiterate, DeAndre Swift's a good bailout. Look for your bailout. And a lot of times I'll tell you, Mark Sanchez was really happy to see Caleb leaning on the bailout passes because you could tell with him watching film that he knew that Caleb hadn't been looking for those like we had talked. And so he was real happy to see that development this week. He's like, look at him. He's taking a profit. I know he said this to a T. He took the profit. I was like, yeah.
Yep.
One of those plays was for 12 yards, just a dump off route to Swift. That was it. But it's a profit.
And another thing they did was they snuck in some tempo also.
Mhm.
And we've talked about that too. Like he seems comfortable. Like sometimes quarterbacks go too fast when they go tempo.
Yeah.
Did you not know the offense he ran in college? They were no huddle and sometimes go fast. Like he can handle going fast. So I think sometimes they were doing a little bit no huddle and changing it up a little bit. So it was just like I said, everything just came together. The run game, he started to be comfortable passing, and they tried to get some tempo going just to keep LA on their toes. Like, oh, they're about to go fast. Okay. Well, wait a minute. Now they're in I formation with Doug Kramer back there. Like, what are we going to do? Like, I'd have to watch film again to really get a feel for it. But just revisiting it, like, oh, you're finally calling the game the way it probably should have been this whole time. Like, you had the reins on it a little bit. Maybe you thought you could get through some games by like not doing those things, and maybe you just said screw it. Because if they were 1-3 right now, like everything would be burning to the ground right now.
It would seem that way, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would seem that way. I think that the way that they responded and the way that I think they showed out with changing up some things really surprised some people. And I hope that's what they do moving forward, because that's the ideal way you want to play Bears football right there, is all I can tell you. And again, as you hinted at, like here's the upcoming next 5 games. Like I would be, if we get out of the next 5, 3-2, that's what I think we can realistically get, a 3-2. Optimistically, I think we get 4-1. Mm-hmm. Maybe even optimistic 5-0. Here's the deal. You got Carolina and Jacksonville next 2 weeks. Then we go on our bye week. Yeah, at home. Well, at home for Carolina, and then we go to London to play the Jaguars.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
But keep in mind, UK is a massive Chicago Bears fandom, so it's kind of pseudo home game. So I'll take it. Bye week. Then off the bye, we come back, and I'll admit this will be the toughest of the 5. We play the Commanders, which is shocking to say that, but Dan Quinn has got these guys ready to play. Jaden Daniels looking pretty sharp. So it's going to be a tough contest.
He's got the offense going.
Yeah, that too. It's going to be a tough contest. And then you finish up that mid-stretch of kind of soft underbelly with the Cardinals and the Patriots. So to me, 3-2, 4-1, very manageable. Optimistic finish for my upside. You are at that point going to be 6-3 heading into your first divisional game against Green Bay in November 17th. And that's at Soldier Field. I'm telling you, we're on track right now for what I wanted to see this year, Steve, 10-7 and a possible playoff berth. The problem is you have 4 teams in the North right now that all are seemingly trying to make a pitch and could make a realistic pitch for a playoff seed. That's not going to be easy to navigate right now.
I know. But
how is Minnesota good still? I just don't get that. I had to put that in. I'm still
I was going to get that too. Doesn't it feel like we should be 3-1, 4-0 right now? Doesn't it feel like that?
Indianapolis definitely felt like a missed opportunity. Not going to lie.
That was a missed opportunity to be 3-1. And we had frankly, the Texans.
We did. And you know what? That's what's kind of weird. Like I could say all 4, like we could be 4-0 right now. But
realistically, we could be 3-1 right now.
And the Colts
game, I would say 3-1 is.
Yeah.
The Colts we should be 3-1.
Big miss. Yeah, we could be 3-1.
Yes. Yeah. How does Minnesota? If Minnesota becomes the new Packers, where it's like, hey, we're going to be good year in and year out, good with Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold leads the league in touchdown passes. He has 932 passing yards on the season. He is killing it right now. This man's killing it.
Pardon my French, but what the fuck?
Aaron Jones is also killing it, by the way.
Oh, he's on their team, isn't he?
Yeah, and he hasn't lost a step. He looks like healthy Aaron Jones in his like mid-20s right now. That's a dangerous team. They have Addison and Jefferson healthy right now. That young defense under Brian Flores is one of the top defenses in the league right now. The only outlier was last week when they gave up 29 unanswered in the second half and still won.
Yeah. that scares me because they love to stunt. They love to do zone blitz stunts. They love to play that walk around defense when we go to play them. Oh God, thank God it's later on in the year, and hopefully the O line just continues to get better.
Well, that's the thing.
But
We've
that
been
game,
getting better every week. So it's good. It's good.
they and the Vikings have scored 116 points and only given up 59.
Mm.
The Bears have scored 77 points and given up 75.
But we're between those two teams, both Minnesota and Chicago are top 10 in the league in opponents' points per game. Chicago's 10th. Minnesota is 4th. Would actually
Is
be
the
back
NFC
probably
North,
up to number 1 if they hadn't given up 29 against the Packers.
is the NFC North and the AFC North the two best divisions right now?
I think the NFC North is the best division in the NFC right now. Because the East is, I mean, credit, the East does have some good competition, but the Giants aren't good. And Dallas and Philadelphia are looking weak as hell right now.
Right. And then Washington has just come out of nowhere.
I know. What what?
So what kind of world are we living in where the NFC North might be the best division in the NFC?
It's a good world. I've always heard that now credit, it's a little different because it's the division, but they always say that the NFL is better when the Bears are winning. The NFL to me is better when the black and blue division is the best one in the league, I think.
That is true. That is true. Because nobody wants to go play up in Minnesota's in a dome. Detroit's in a dome, but nobody wants to go to Green Bay and Chicago for a playoff game.
No, hell no. Not on the lakefront, Plus, I mean,
That's
hey, if
why
we're talking fan bases, by the way, I mean, yeah, we talk two outside ones in Green Bay and Chicago represent, but two of the loudest domes in the league are Minnesota and Detroit. Hell, this year alone, people have said Detroit's one of the hardest places to play as of late because it's that diehard of a group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what a world where the NFC North is the best in the NFC. NFC East has kind of fallen down besides Washington. Now Washington is running with it, and you're like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Cowboys will figure it out. They always seem to. What a drop off for the Eagles. That has completely shocked me how far after paying Hurts, all of a sudden they just went, like as soon as they paid him, it just goes downhill.
Yeah.
I
gotta give a minor pass for the not having both the Smiths, but even then I don't know, man. Kind of
San Francisco's up and down. The Raiders are the Raiders. I feel like the Chargers will figure it out with Harbaugh, but like right now, if you're looking at pound for pound, NFC North is because if the Bears can figure it out and the other three teams continue to do what they're doing, it's going to be the best division, which is also a bad thing for the Bears because if you don't win the division, now you're battling really for that wild card spot, and it's going to be from your own division. Like,
could it? Here's a hypothetical. I don't think it'll happen, but is there ever a day we'll see an entire division make a playoff push?
Oh, I don't think so.
With 7 teams, it's possible. You just have to have all of them good enough.
I mean, it's possible, but it won't. I just don't. If another team from another division gets hot, I don't know. That's a good question. The Bears are the Bears can't screw it up. They're going to be the ones that screw it up.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to be realistic, it won't be the North. It won't be the North, but I think the North is going to be the most fun division now this season. Like Chicago keeps moving the way it's moving. Minnesota is like one of the surprises of the season for everybody. Then, I mean, it's going to be a dogfight all year, especially that back end of the second half of the season when we're all hitting divisional opponents. It's going to be a dogfight.
Well, especially because I'm looking at it. Minnesota's schedule sets up perfectly because you have the Jets who are struggling.
Yep.
Your tough game against the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the Rams, which will be a tough one, but the Rams are banged up by then.
Right, but and we saw that their rush game sucks. As long as Sam Darnold isn't falling off a cliff by then, you know.
They get the Colts, go to the Jaguars, go to the Titans. So that schedule sets up perfectly. Then they go to the Bears. Then you get the Cardinals and Falcons, Bears again,
Yep.
Seahawks, Packers, Lions. So their
Wow.
schedule, if they continue to play the way they are, it's set up beautifully for Minnesota, which I hate saying. I really do. But
Right.
like their schedule is not quite like the Bears, in my opinion.
Yeah. Detroit. Yeah. I mean, shoot, even you want to compare others like Detroit, theirs is all over the place because, yeah, they got, well, if they beat Seattle this week, then they got to play Dallas. And sure, Dallas isn't playing well right now, but, still anything can happen. They have to play Minnesota then after that, Tennessee, then go to Green Bay, or then they play in Green Bay in Lambeau. Houston's on the schedule. They get a little bit of soft spot with Jacksonville and Indianapolis midseason, but then they got Chicago. But here's the gauntlet at the end of the season. This will kill you. They got Chicago, Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, San Francisco, and Minnesota to end the year. That's the final 6 games they have to play.
Oh, the lot.
It's not like Detroit's not built for it, but I mean, come on. This is one of the tough. The Detroit Lions, after last year, have one of the toughest schedules in the NFL.
Now, do you want to hear the Packer schedule?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Round it up. We're already talking what could happen now. Might as well finish the trifecta.
Well, it could piss you off. I'm not quite sure yet.
Okay. I'm still going to hold no judgment yet. So please.
They go to the Rams.
Right.
Home against the Cardinals. Home against the Texans.
Okay.
They go to the Jaguars.
Okay.
Then they're home against the Lions. Then they go to the Bears. Then they are home with the 49ers.
All right.
Home with the Dolphins.
Okay.
Go to the Lions. Go to Seattle. Home against the Saints. Go to the Vikings and end it with home against the Bears.
Interesting. See, theirs is like a half step tougher than like Minnesota to me.
That's what I'm saying. I think Minnesota's schedule, as of right now at this moment, is quote unquote easier. Then it's Green Bay. Is it possible then the Bears and the Lions? Because the Lions' back half is just.
I think Chicago has the. Yeah, I'm going to say Chicago has the probably same level as Green Bay in toughness, and then Detroit definitely has the toughest schedule in the NFC North for the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but they're built for it, but man.
But they are clearly one of the top Super Bowl candidates, which is crazy to say in a sentence, by the way, but that's where we're at right now.
Which, if the Bears, I always said this, if one team in the NFC North outside of the Bears I would root for is the Lions. I don't know why.
It's hard to not root against Dan Campbell. He's just a great personality.
I love Dan Campbell. I love the grittiness of the team. I love the physicality they show. I wish the Bears did that all the time. They're kind of playing like the old school Bears, kind of like they want to hit you, they want to do this, they want to grind it out. And if Jared Goff has 300 passing yards, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And they just try to run the ball and win a different way.
Yeah, I'd say Bears, but a lot more polished everywhere, really. Like without a doubt.
Right. And that's what the Bears are trying to get to. Like, we need to remember Dan Campbell when he first got there, they were not good. And it took a while. Took a couple years.
Man, they were going to get it. He was like borderline about to be fired till they finished 9-8 2 years ago. Yeah,
he was on his way out.
Yeah. I was going to say he and especially Jared Goff, because I remember there's a special, and I think this will be it for me talking to any other teams, but there was a special on talking about Goff's revival during the opening week of the season, and how he knew he had kind of been in a bad place when he got sent to Detroit. They get that win this first year, like late in the season. Second year, he's kind of pseudo slumping, but like the team's not chugging along well. And Dan challenges him, is like, hey, look, man, you were brought in to be a leader. You're a good quarterback. You just got to step up. like, and challenge him publicly too on the podium. That was the thing. And ever since then, that's what sparked what we know as the Lions now. You know,
Yep.
just a new drive for Goff, great picks by the front office for them, and Dan Campbell's coaching finally shining through with players that believe in his system.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's why I was like, can the Bears get him when they were going to maybe fire Eberflus? I was like, is there a way we can
We just
kind
trade.
of can we just trade coaches? I don't think Dan Campbell would ever do that, but
no, no way. And you know what? I like I said, Detroit. I know it's in a divisional opponent, but like, hey, come up and's got to feel good as long as we're not playing them. Feel good. I enjoy seeing the revival for them. And you know what? I also have some stake Bears wise in that because you know what, David Montgomery, you're living your best life in Detroit. I'm glad they valued you the way we should have valued you. Is all
he's
I
on
can
my
tell
fantasy.
you.
He's on my fantasy team, and he's been doing pretty well.
Well, he may have just punched in a second. Nope, that was Jahmyr Gibbs. But that being said, like, talk about thunder and lightning. That's kind of, in a way, what I want from like Roschon and Swift, except the fact that Montgomery's the lightning in Detroit and he's not anywhere close to the height wise as Roschon Johnson. That's all I want is that combo. Detroit's got it. We have it on paper in Chicago. Yeah. Let's just use it that way in Chicago.
Do you feel more confident that we'll figure it out with this team than compared to last year?
Yes. After 4 weeks, I will say yes. Because last year, like I said, last year we would have not adapted offensively this quickly. We've had for two coaching cycles in terms of coordinators and play callers, boneheaded OCs where it is near brain dead. I want to run my stuff. I'm going to make this work. I'm not going to change for anything until it's like the 0 hour and I'm about to lose my job. And now with this year, with 4 weeks in, we're seeing Shane say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. This isn't working. I like my system, but we need to tool some things to where we can have the best of both worlds. As long as he learned that this week and they keep doing it, which I think they will, we're already well ahead of where we were the last several seasons. Yep. I'm very confident. This is the most confident I've been in a long time.
Hello, Paper Sports Channel. That was a
yeah, good to see you. I was wondering if he was going to, I know this isn't our usual time, but I was wondering if he was going to show up in the chat. Good to see him.
Everyone playing best ball right now. Bears still ain't played the best, so they're saving the best for the last. About time we play division. Hopefully we'll be okay by then.
Well, that's the thing. The second half of the season, you hope you play your best ball in November, December. And if we're playing better week over week and we're playing, Steve, I'll let you say more on this, weaker competition to help tune this team better for those upper scale games. We might be seeing some fun football and possibly some January football more so.
Hopefully,
we're on track. We are on track for the 10-7 record that I predicted based on what I was projecting our win total to be at this point. So we are still on track. This is good. We're 2-2. That's what I thought we were going to be by this stretch. So good stuff.
I think we said that. I think we said 3-1, 2-2. And
3-1 was the optimistic, but 2-2 is definitely I felt was very manageable, and we did that. Just with different opponents than I thought it was going to be is all.
Right. And I know the Bears probably have no right to say, like, we should beat this team because of the past couple years. So it's really hard to say, like, you should beat this team. But if you're going by on paper and who we have and everything else, on paper, should have beat the Colts. On paper, and the way we're playing, we should beat the Panthers. On paper, we should be able to do, the Jaguars. Like, we should be able to do these things. And I know maybe we don't have the right to say that, but if they play this way and build off of that offense and do it right from the get-go, and not even score every time, like a touchdown. Like if they march down the field, get a field goal, defense does their thing, then you march down, and now you get the touchdown doing the same thing. Caleb Williams starts to get more comfortable passing the ball, connects on a couple deep ones. And it sucks because you don't talk about the defense enough, but the defense just got to keep doing their thing. Like that's all they got to do. There's really not much besides the run. The run game, stopping the run will be the big thing. But how many teams are running anymore either. So I think that's why they're okay with it at
Wow,
times too.
good point. You know what? Kind of a fun or a unique chart that was pulled up. I saw on X last night was the current top 16 running backs in terms of total yards in the NFL, like currently on roster. The drop off from Derrick Henry's number to anyone else in the league is huge, to the point where,
Mm-hmm.
like, they made the account that posted made the point, will we ever see a 10,000 yard rusher ever again, given how offenses have developed? And I'm not saying that that's impossible, but I feel like it's going to be harder than ever before, given the trend that running backs have taken.
Oh, he had to ask about my Illini, didn't he?
Oh boy. One more thing, Coach
Yeah.
Steve, is Illinois still in, or is that Penn State game killed them? Hey, AP ranked him 24th, and IU was 23.
Hello, paper. You're out of here. No, I'm just kidding. No, I actually did a post game about this. They're okay. They're fine. It's okay. That's exactly how I wanted the game. I mean, I wanted Illinois to win. So one of our coaches on our staff, one of the coaches on our staff played college football at Penn State, and he had a cup of coffee with the Bears too. So as a running back, and so all week I just kept looking at him saying ILL and the whole week. But he was like, no, realistically, like, how do we think this game is going to go? And I said, hey, all I want is a physical, tough game. And I don't want either team. I would love to see Illinois like blow them out, but I also knew that wasn't going to happen just because how good Penn State is. And I just said, hey, as long as it's a competitive, close game, and it was really that way. So if you're Illinois, you're kind of happy, like, hey, you went toe to toe with a top 10 team that people are picking to compete with Ohio State to win the Big Ten. They're picking them to go to the playoff already and do something in the playoffs, and you went toe to toe. So I feel like when I talk about Illinois, I'm talking about the Bears, because I was talking about Illinois and I was like, their run game was just not there, and they just couldn't get it. Bielema said that after the game. He's like, the run needs to be there, and the pass protection was getting broken down. And so I was like, am I talking about the Bears right now? Because that's what it felt like. So they fix those things, they'll be fine. So, but yes, Indiana ranked, Illinois ranked. Big Ten has a ton of teams ranked.
Like, dude, I'm looking at Indiana's schedule, because not saying I'm a Hoosiers fan, but like, look, I come from the state, I got to look into it. And oh my God, like, look, they could run the table to Michigan with 3 weeks left on the schedule. Their toughest left opponents. I don't know how they got so lucky with this scheduling this year, but besides maybe Nebraska, they have Michigan and Ohio State at the back end of the year. Imagine if they steal one of these games. Michigan in particular, I feel like, is a very opportunistic win they could get. Not so much about Ohio State, but like, this team could be 11-1 by the end of the year, Steve, which is, for Indiana football, would be like its best season ever.
Yeah, I said the same thing about Illinois, because they get their bye week, which is perfect. They played 3 ranked teams already. They had to play Kansas, who was ranked. They had to go to Nebraska last weekend and play them, and they're being picked to go to the playoffs too. Upset them, and then you had to go to the whiteout game in Penn State. Like, that's a lot. Yeah. So they have their bye week right now. On October 12th, they host Purdue, who just fired their offensive coordinator yesterday. So they're kind of in turmoil.
Yeah, Purdue's been in shambles for so long too. That's the thing. It's such a shame, Yeah.
So they got that. Then they host Michigan. And Michigan, if people don't realize this, if you look at them playing Michigan the last 2 years, it's taken Michigan until the final couple minutes to beat Illinois. I don't know why. It just has.
Yeah.
The toughest one they have is they have to go to Oregon after that. And so that one, I don't know. But then you got Minnesota, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Northwestern. So Illinois realistically could go 9-3, 10-2.
That's
somewhere
crazy.
in there. And I guess who predicted that? Guess who predicted that? This guy.
Moi? Nice.
I said 8 to 10 wins. And people are like, where do you see those wins coming from? And I told them, I said, I think they'll beat Kansas. I think they'll beat Nebraska. Penn State's a toss-up. Michigan's a toss-up. And Oregon's a toss-up. I said, I think they can beat the rest of them.
And
they're like, how do you know that?
How do you know? Because you're Coach Steve. God damn it!
Well, because I also went to the practices and I'm texting their coaches and I'm like, hey, what's going on?
True,
And
true. Okay, okay.
watching them at their spring practice, I was like, when I knew they would probably be able to do it was watching the spring game. There was former Illinois players there, like from the Rose Bowl and from other things, who played for Ron Zook and all this stuff. They were there watching. And I went up to them and started talking to them. I'm just like, oh God, I'm such an Illinois fan. Nice to meet you guys. What team are you on? Like, oh, we're on the 2017, blah, 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 blah. And they're watching practice. And at the end, they go, hey, let's go talk to Bielema. And I'm like, we can just walk up to him. He goes, come with me. This tall lineman, I'm 6'5". God, mind you,
Nice.
I'm 6'5". He's like 6'7", 6'8". He
Oh my
grabs
God.
me. He's like, let's go. And I'm like, okay. Go up to Bielema, and he was like, hey, Coach Bielema, nice job, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, I'm Coach Bielema. And I'm like, hey, I'm Steve Kaczewski, nice to see you, blah, blah. And he goes, where do you coach at, blah, 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 blah. And then he looks at Bielema and he goes, I loved playing for Ron Zook, but by God, you got this thing going like a well-oiled machine. Like, it was just one of the most crisp practices that he was like, I've ever seen. And blah, 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 blah. And Bielema just can't take a comment. He goes, yeah, well, this happened and this happened. Like, blah, blah, blah. He's just focused on that and going on with it. But I knew it. I said, if they can get it clicking, you're looking at 8 to 10 wins. Sorry, that's it. I didn't know this was an
10
Illinois
and 2
segment.
would be great. Would you need to get to playoff? How many Big Ten get? I don't know how many would get it. Like, here's the thing. Keep in mind, like, if we're going to talk Big Ten, honestly, I could do a Big Ten podcast with you as well, because that's my conference in college football, quite frankly. Like, here's the thing. If I'm looking at the Big Ten right now, I mean, right
Indiana,
now, all the way down
one?
to like the top 10 of the 18 teams either are ranked or got votes in the top 25 or in the top or note votes for the top 25 this week. Like, Rutgers is also looking like a decent squad. Craig Schiano came back and has essentially made that a respectable program again. Nebraska, I'll tell you, I know that there's been flack for how he his mannerisms are, but I really like that Dylan Raiola kid. That dude's going to be a special product. He's only a freshman, Steve. I love how he plays as a freshman. Matt Rule's got some great guys over there for the coming seasons. Nebraska's going to be interesting next coming years. And then, well, USC, not too bad. I mean, top 10 in the Big Ten, sky's the limit. It's going to be weird how this plays out for those auto bids for them, because you can have your usual suspects, or I'm vouching to see if there's some surprises in this mix. Like I said, Indiana's looking like an upstart all of a sudden and like blowing people out of the water. We got Illinois still, Iowa back as usual, defensive squad. I don't have as much faith with them, but still, there's a lot of craziness going on with this division. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. Did you see that the Big Ten, the SEC, are doing a scheduling partnership starting in the coming years? That's going to be huge for college football to see those two going head to head more and more.
Me too. Only a freshman Heisman fave next year.
I mean, Raiola looks great. I can't wait to see what he does as a sophomore.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's going to be really tough to make the playoffs if you're in the SEC Big Ten, because especially the Big Ten, you got 7 Big Ten teams ranked in the top 25. In the Big Ten rankings right now, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Illinois number 8. Like, and they're 1-1 in the conference and 4-1 overall, and you're number 8.
Right.
Like, because they got rid of the divisions. Like, Indiana's technically number 1 in the conference.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think for just the fun of it, I think getting rid of divisions is one of the smartest things Big Ten could have done. Personally.
Oh, I know. I love it. I'm just not used to. I'm used to seeing rankings on each side.
I'm used to the Big Ten. I'm used to the Big Ten East being like Michigan, Ohio State versus whoever the hell the West is going to figure out their crap this year. And now it's like, oh, goody, anyone's game. It's going to come down to tiebreakers, which is fantastic because I love that type of stuff. So made the Pac-10, or funny enough, the Pac-12 so exciting with their standings, is doing that stuff. And meanwhile,
the Big Ten used to be that way.
Well, and even the SEC have gone to just straight standings
Mhm.
again, which is weird because if you look at the standings right now, Texas A&M and Texas are at the top in terms of conference wins. Now it's going to change, but
What kind of world are we living in?
I know. I will tell you though, just from looking at the Big Ten and SEC, hot take for me, I think the Big Ten's got the better overall conference. The SEC to me is more top heavy, but it's got the more powerhouse hitters like your Roll Tide that won this week against the Georgia Bulldogs.
Roll Tide, baby. Let me put that next to Illinois right
Yeah, just a little closer, you know. Gotta get in in the crimson.
I wore my coach's Alabama thing today and walked in because our OC's a Georgia fan, but he wasn't at school today. I was like, damn it. And what a game that was.
Yeah.
Let's see. Big Ten beat each other up, but never to get in the playoffs because Big Ten's tough. Yeah. But yeah, I think SEC is top heavy. I think overall Big Ten, as of right now at this moment, is a really good freaking conference.
Oh my God.
And what's going to be awesome, and it's not going to happen because some of the colder teams haven't done it yet, but it was going to be awesome to see like an SEC team have to go up to like Michigan or Ohio State when it's cold, and that will be fun.
It'll be soon
really
enough.
fun.
I mean, we got a snippet of that with Texas taking on Michigan, but Michigan's not the same that they were last year. They're still good, but clearly not the championship Michigan team anymore. So
no. Well, then I guess USC, didn't they just go to Wisconsin, or was it Wisconsin to USC?
Wisconsin went to USC, and they had them in the first half, and then USC finally got wise and kind of beat down on the Badgers. Fickles had a few, I would say, rough patch years, but hopefully that program gets back to where it used to be, because that'll make the Big Ten even more fun if you have another legacy program like the Badgers getting back up there with the big boys now. You know, I mean, the fact that 10 of the 18 teams are all getting ranked votes, it's just nuts. I love that. I love what, in terms of competition, college football is great right now. NIL, great for players with some stipulation that I think we need to figure out the finer details, but that's for the
don't get me
legal
started
offices to figure out.
That. Don't get me
you want a
started
red shirt mid-season? I got a place for you.
Hey, the Big Ten office is up there in Rosemont. I could drive right up there and be like, hey, I could fix all this bullshit.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of those red shirts, UNLV, 25th ranked in the country. Didn't miss a step.
And they won without that quarterback, so bye-bye.
Didn't miss a step.
Oh, don't get me started on the name, image, and likeness. Because I talked to all these college coaches. Some of it we talked about on air. People can go listen to all those episodes. Some coaches lay it all out there for me. Some don't. Some do it off air, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the real. I get told the real about this damn name, image, and likeness. It's just getting out of control. These coaches hate it. They love them getting paid. Don't get me wrong. Every single coach has come on my show and said we love the fact they're getting paid. But it's the other stuff. It's this other stuff that they cannot stand. And have you noticed college coaches go in the NFL more?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
because it's roster
management. If we're talking NFL style negotiations, you might as well go NFL now. You know.
Why do you think Nick Saban left?
Well, Nick Saban said it best when it became every player's asking for how much money I'm making. I mean,
it's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere. A coach I know at NAIA level was asked that, like, how much money am I going to make? And he's like, first of all, we're NAIA. No.
Oh,
yeah.
You can't. Someone went to an NAIA school and said, how much cash am I going to walk away? Dude, you're getting paid for school probably. Like, just go with that. At that level, take the education of the football. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different when you're in even like D1 schools. Like, you're only like top of the top. NIL like collectives give you money.
Oh, I mean,
like that's why they're saying that's why they're saying that Florida might have a problem right now, is that they might not have the NIL money, and that even though they're a legacy program, they can't get people to buy in because there's no cash for them.
Oh yeah, talking to these coaches, I know I got stories they've told me, and the problems it's going to cause. Now, you know who doesn't hate it? Is the FCS teams, like Eastern. They do not, because they'll lose a couple, But when these kids leave Power Fives and then they don't find another Power Five, guess who swoops in? The,
FCS.
the FCS.
Some great
So they
programs over there too that'll get those people. So
that happens. But some FCS coaches feel like they've become JUCO too at the same time because they get these kids out of high school for 2 years, they become really, really good, and all of a sudden their junior year they go, well, I'm going to go to a Power Five, and they just leave. And so they're like, well, wait a minute, just wait, like hold on a second,
hold on a darn second here.
Let's
talk.
That's a whole other podcast because yeah. But anyway,
yeah.
Bears win. The Bears win. We're all feeling pretty good. Everybody is even keel on Twitter about the Bears, which is awesome. And hopefully they can, they're 2-2, exactly where most people thought they could be, 3-1, 2-2. Everybody put their pitchforks away after they won. They were all good. And schedule sets it up to where, like you said, they can maybe win, 4 or 5 more games, hopefully. And, just don't slip up and stay healthy too. That's the other thing. They got to stay healthy. Get Keenan Allen back fully healthy. Tevin Jenkins was banged up. He got rotated out a little bit. He always seems to get banged up. Yeah, so it's a good time to be a Bears fan for this week, for one more week of being okay.
Everybody get in the prayer circle and say 6-3 repeatedly.
6-3.
That's the target. 6-3 by Green Bay. That's what we want. Minimum to me.
Anybody listening or watching, we're hoping to be back Thursday or Friday to discuss the game versus the Carolina Panthers. We'll have film to see if we were correct on our assumptions of what happened from the offensive standpoint. So we'll do our normal film look. If Steve gets his head out of his ass and gets the film ready in time, because sometimes he doesn't, he forgets.
We'll talk. Hey, at least I'll be able to watch the All 22 before I jump on this time. Finally made that NFL Plus push. That's good.
That's true. Wait a minute. What's this? You all the only one speak positive on Bears. So Coach Steve, love our line.
The only one in the world.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, good to see you, Alpha Paper Sports Channel. Glad you're jumping on for these chats all the time. We appreciate you, man.
And thank God that one spam account isn't here.
Oh, well, hold on to your shorts, because most of our chat still is used to Thursdays. So see how that goes on Thursday.
What was his name again? Prayer to the Almighty Hell. I don't know what the fuck his name was.
Something Ghoul. I don't remember. It was some Ghoul name.
He can take the Ghoul and shove it somewhere. I don't even.
All I know is he's leading the Tyson Bagent fan club. That's all I need to know.
He's gonna make me hate Tyson Bagent. I don't want that because I love Tyson Bagent. He's gonna make me.
I hope we don't get to that point. I don't want to be there.
I'm very petty, so that's what's gonna happen.
We'll survive together. We'll talk.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. Like and subscribe. Find the Bear Down playlist. It's all there. Everything's in the description below. So thanks everybody watching or listening. Tune in Thursday or Friday, probably Thursday. We'll get that going. Leave comments in the comment section down below, all that good stuff, and we'll see you.